So in this 8255 microprocessor, there are three modes of operation. That is mode 0, mode 1 and mode 2. In case of mode 0, there are three ports will be available like A, B and C. And this mode will be used for simple input and output function. So see in this diagram, there are three types of buses are available, that is address bus, control bus and data bus. So the size of the data bus is 8-bit that we have already learned in the previous lectures. So this D0 to D7 bits will be allocated to our data bus. Now in case of address bus, the A0 and A1 that signals are connected with that address bus, and our chip select signal is also connected to our address bus. And this signal is used for selecting the address line depending on the 0 and 1 value. If the signal is 0, that means the signal is low. And if it is low, then we are selecting this address line. So how these address lines will be selected? This is our A0 signal and this is our A1 signal. If these signals are 0 and 0, then you are selecting this port A. If the signal is 0 and 1, then you can select this port B. If the signal is 1 and 0, then you can select this port C. And if it is 1, 1, then you can select this control registers. So depending on this A1 and A0 line, we are selecting our port structure. So in this diagram, we are writing here read and write signal and that are connected to our control bus. So this is the basic structure, and here we are writing the mode 0 operating mode for our 8255 microprocessor. So in this diagram, there are three ports, that is port A, port B, and this is our port C. So port C is divided it into two parts, that is this is the lower part and this one is the upper part. And this upper part will be included in our group A architecture and this lower part will be included in our group B architecture. So this is the diagram for your mode 0 operation. Now you can check this mode 1 operation. So in this mode 1, this mode will be used for handshaking of input output for port A and B. And this is the signal that is used for input and output function, and this port C will be used for handshaking signal. So in this diagram you can check here all the structure is same as we have already drawn in our mode 0 of our operation. But what is the difference in that diagram? The group A of our port A will be same and the group B of our port B will be same. But here we have added this port C as a control and input output port. So all the ports of our port C will be used for handshaking purpose, and this can be considered as control port as well as input output port. And this all the ports are considered as a bidirectional port. This signal is also called as a handshake signal as well as the strobe signal because this is used for handshaking purpose. And all the signals, that is input and output signals, that are latch and the interrupt logic will be supported in this architecture. But whenever we are considering this mode 0 operation, then our output signals are latch signal and our input signals are not latch signal. And this mode will not be used for handshaking and interrupt facility. But in case of mode 1, we are using this port for handshaking purpose and data can be exchanged between the CPU and different peripheral devices. This port C will be called as a status port and that will be used for control and input-output port. As we have already discussed, there are group A and group will be available, that are the two groups are there in our mode 1 of operation. So group A consists of our port A and port C upper part, and group B consists of port B and our lower part of our port C. So now in case of group A and group B, each and every group is having the 8-bit of port. So in case of group A, this port A structure will be there, that is for 8-bit. In case of group B, our port B structure is there, that is for 8-bit. And the 4-bit port will be available, that is used for handshaking purpose. So this port C is used for handshaking purpose, and that is the size will be 4-bit, and this 4-bit will be used for the handshaking purpose in group B. So the port C upper part and the port C lower part, this total 8 bits that we are using it for control and input output port in our mode 1 of operating modes of 8255 microprocessor. Now we will see the mode 2 of our 8255 microprocessor. So in this diagram, this part will be same as similar to mode 0 and mode 1 of our operation. So in this diagram, there is port A and port B that is also used for simple input output as well as our bidirectional data transfer operation. In this diagram, this is the port C architecture, and that is used for input and output as well as our control port. So here you can check that these are the bidirectional signals will be available in port C architecture. So out of that, 3 signals will be used for input and output, and 5 ports will be used for control signal. So here we have divided this control and input output port into 2 parts. So in this diagram, the control ports are there and the number is 5. And there are 3 ports will be used for input and output function. And both the ports are bidirectional port. So here we are using this group A and group B structure, and our group A consists of the port C structure, that is the upper part will be added in our group A and port A will be added in our group A. So in case of port A, it can be operated either in mode 0, mode 1 and mode 2. Our group B consists of port B structure and the lower part of our port C structure, that is PC0 to PC3. And this port B will be operated in either mode 0 or either mode 1. That we have already discussed in the previous lecture. Our two groups consist of group A and group B. Our group A consists of 3 modes, that is 0, then 1 and then 2. And our group B consists of mode 0 and mode 1. So these are the operations will be available in our programming of 8255 microprocessor. For detailed explanation of our programming of 8255 microprocessor, the link will be added in the description box. So in this lecture, we have learned what are the different modes of our 8255 microprocessor, what are the functions are given in that mode 0, mode 1 and mode 2 of our 8255 API. So in case of mode 0, that is used for simple input output, and all the ports are used in mode 0 operation. In mode 1, we are using this port A and port B for handshaking purpose as well as input output signal. But our port C structure can be used for only for handshaking purpose. In case of mode 2, we are using the bidirectional data transfer, and that is given in that port A. And port B will be used for either mode 0 and mode 1 of our operation. And this handshaking signal will be derived the bits from our port C. So in this video, we have learned these different modes of operations of our 8255 PPI.